Let us now try to move to the next option. As we have completed the discussion of extrude command, we have practiced sample exercises and we have seen and learned the different procedures for creating extrude geometries. Now let us try to discuss the next option, which is one of the most important option in Creo, and that is called as Revolve. Using the Revolve option, we can create different geometries that are axisymmetric. Axisymmetric refers to the geometries which or whose cross section is a circle. So whenever you're trying to create a geometry which is circular, which is having a circular cross section, you will be obviously having a center axis for it. That means that particular circular component is axisymmetric. So what are the different applications of axisymmetric geometries? Let us look into the Google. So you can see a rocket over here. This is also called as a launch vehicle, and this is used for space exploration or different missions which are related to space. So you can, if you are observing the design of the rocket, you can see one common thing in all the designs, that the cross section of the rocket is circular in shape. That is the reason they are called as axisymmetric components or axisymmetric design. So in order to create this kind of shapes or this kind of designs, we will be required to work with the Revolve command. What are the other options we can see? We have a doorknob over here. This is also circular in shape, but there is a variation with respect to the diameter. We can just try to create it in Revolve, so don't worry about it. But if you are trying to cut the knob or this kind of axisymmetric component laterally at any location, the cross section what you find will be a circle. For example, for the case of wing, you will be finding an aerofoil shape if you are cutting the cross section of it. So let us look at some other examples. We have the missiles, which are axisymmetric. We also have the flower pots or the flower vase. These are again axisymmetric. So you can see that they are circular in shape and they are symmetric across the central axis. So let us see the working and the procedure for creation of these kind of geometries in the Creo software. So I have entered into the Creo software. So the procedure is quite simple and the selection of plane is quite similar to the way we have selected in extrude command. So the important thing is whatever we are going to design or create the geometries, we have to select the plane on which we are working, because that is the reference where we are drawing or creating the sketch. So I'll just click on Revolve command, and this particular window is quite similar to the window what we were getting when we were opening the extrude command. So we have the placement option. We can click define and select the plane on which we want to work. So right now I'm selecting the front plane. After this, I have to select the sketch option and align my view. Now let us try to create a missile kind of geometry, and you can see this is horizontally placed and this is symmetric about the horizontal axis. Okay, and this particular geometry, the flower vase, is symmetric around the vertical axis. So that's the difference in the alignment of this different geometries. Whereas if you have the rocket, if you want to design it in this particular way, then we have to align it with respect to the vertical axis, right? So the difference is to be understood before beginning the geometry. So I want to create a missile, imagine, and this has to be aligned with respect to the horizontal axis. So for that, what do I need to do? I need to create a sketch over here. But what kind of sketch do I need to create? Should I create the total cross section? The difference in Revolve and extrude is, in extrude we have to create the total cross section, but in Revolve we have to create only the half of the cross section, either the bottom half or the upper half. So I'll just try to show you with an example so that you can understand more clearly. Before that, I'll just try to create a cylinder first, then we can go to some different geometries. So cylinder is again an axisymmetric component. It is having a circular cross section. So for creating a cylinder, I will create the upper half of the cylinder. I mean, if you are imagining that the cylinder is lying on the ground and from the side view it looks like a rectangle, so I'm creating the upper half of that rectangle. I'll just show you right now by pressing OK, and then we have to select the axis of revolution. So I want the axis of revolution to be x-axis. So the moment I have selected x-axis, you can see that the sketch what I have created the upper half. I'll just show you over here. I have created the upper half. Now this particular thing will be rotated or revolved around the axis of revolution, which is the horizontal axis in my case. So this is the procedure for creating a revolve component, and you can change the distance or you can change the rotation angle as well. If you want it to be around 50 degrees, so this is just 50 degrees over here. But I want a complete cylinder, so it has to be 360 degrees. And you can press OK. So this is the way you got a cylinder. Now this particular cylinder is lying on the ground. Imagine if I want to create a standing cylinder. So what do I need to do? Let me go to the default view. Let me click on Revolve, and I can directly select the plane on which I want to create the revolve component. So I have the particular plane with me right now. Align it. So one important thing you have to see over here is you have to follow the center axis. I mean, if this is the center axis, you either have to create on the right hand side or the left hand side if you are considering this to be the axis of revolution. In the earlier case, I have considered the horizontal axis to be the axis of revolution. So in that particular case, I have to create either on the upper side or the lower side of this particular axis of revolution. So the selection or the decision of the selection of the axis of revolution depends on the user and the geometry itself. So right now I want a cylinder to be standing on the ground. So I will be selecting the vertical axis, and I will be creating the geometry on the right hand side of the vertical axis. So rectangle is selected and a closed loop is created. So you have to ensure over here that whatever sketch you are plotting or whatever sketch you are sketching on the layout, it has to be a closed loop. So right now I'm not following any dimensions, just pardon me. I have to press OK, and after that you have to select the axis of revolution again. So in my case, the axis of revolution is y-axis, that is the vertical axis. And the moment I select it, I got this revolve geometry. I can change the angle of rotation depending on my need, but I want it to be 360 again. And you can just press OK over here. So you got a rectangle which is standing on the ground. So this is just an imagination purpose. I'm just trying to explain you what's the way to design using the extrude command. Let us look at it in more detail in the next video.